Once upon a time, in the old city of Baghdad, a man named Sarang used to play the sarangi in its streets. From morning till evening, he would play his instrument, and whatever money he earned, he collected in a pouch. The shoes Sarang wore had become very old. He had spent 10 years wearing the same pair of shoes. Whenever the shoes tore, Sarang would stitch a patch over them. Due to repeated patches, the shoes had become extremely ugly. Because of this very reason, Sarang and his shoes became famous all over Baghdad. The truth was, Sarang was extremely stingy. Though he made money by playing the sarangi, he spent very little on himself. He lived a life of hardship and saved every penny he could. That had become his sole purpose in life. He neither ate to his fill nor helped anyone with his money. One day, Sarang went to the market and saw that a merchant from Aleppo had brought many beautiful and golden glass vessels for sale. Sarang was very clever. He quickly noticed that the merchant was desperate to sell his goods, but couldn't find a good buyer. Upon seeing those wonderful vessels, Sarang's greed awakened. Dishonesty crept into his heart. He went straight to the merchant and started speaking falsehoods. He said, "Sir Merchant, it's very hard to sell this type of merchandise here. Take my advice. If you find someone who values it, sell your wares at whatever price you can and lighten your burden." The merchant was taken in by Sarang's smooth talk. After a little bargaining, he sold those fine vessels to Sarang for only 60 dinars. Surely, if he hadn't been deceived, the same vessels could have sold for 10 times the price Sarang paid. Sarang was overjoyed in his heart, thinking, "Today I've completely fooled the merchant. He came here to do business, but now I will earn several times more profit from these vessels." Thinking of this, he went to a perfume seller's shop and cunningly bought rose oil and other perfumes at cheap prices. Then he filled the beautiful vessels with those cleverly purchased perfumes. When he got home, he arranged the golden vessels in his room. One day, Sarang thought he should go to the public bath and clean himself, as it had been months since he had last bathed. The next morning, he got up early and went to a famous bathhouse in Baghdad. Coincidentally, one of his friends was also there. His friend noticed Sarang's shoes, which by now had turned into a collection of shoes stitched together. They were nothing but an accusation in the name of footwear, with layers and layers of patches clearly visible. Seeing this, his poor friend couldn't hold back and said, "My dear, God has given you everything. He has blessed you with wealth. You have no wife, no children, no responsibilities. You are not answerable to anyone except God. How long will you hold on to these shoes? For God's sake, let them go. Would it really cost you much to buy a new pair? The amount you earn daily is several times the price of one pair of shoes." Luckily, it was a good moment. The friend's words struck Sarang's heart. He replied, "Brother, you are right. God willing, I will act upon your advice tomorrow." Saying this, Sarang entered the bath and scrubbed himself thoroughly, removing the dirt and grime of weeks. Once he was satisfied with the bath, he returned to the dressing room. There, to his surprise, he saw a new pair of shoes placed next to his old 10-year companion. Sarang immediately thought, "Indeed, my friend is kind and generous. He couldn't resist and left me a new pair of shoes. May God reward him well. This is what true friendship looks like." Full of joy, Sarang quickly put on the new shoes and made his way home. Today, Sarang was extremely happy that God had gifted him new shoes for free. But little did he know, all his joy was about to turn to dust. And with the arrival of these shoes at his home, troubles would begin to haunt him. It seemed fate had decided to take revenge on Sarang for his stinginess, and wanted to punish him for not showing even a shred of regret, while parting with the shoes that had served him loyally for 10 years. The shoes Sarang believed to be a gift from his friend was, unfortunately, the lost shoe of Baghdad's judge. That very day, the judge had also gone to the bathhouse. When he finished his bath and looked for his shoes, they were missing. He became furious and ordered the bathhouse owner to search the entire premises. He hoped they might find a pair of shoes without an owner and use that to identify the thief. After a lot of searching, Sarang's shoes caught everyone's attention. As they were already infamous throughout Baghdad, people immediately recognized them and explained the entire situation to the judge. When the judge heard the story, he ordered his men to surround Sarang's house and recover the shoes. They did exactly that and found the judge's shoes inside Sarang's house. They seized the shoes and arrested Sarang, believing him to be the thief. When Sarang was brought before the judge, he tried hard to prove his innocence, but the judge didn't believe him since the stolen shoes were found in his home. The judge ordered Sarang to be flogged and imprisoned for a few days, and also fined him a large amount. After serving his sentence, Sarang was released from prison. He returned home broken and miserable. As soon as he got home, he sat in the middle of the room and began to cry. He looked at the golden vessels filled with perfume and thought, "All of this is because of these damn vessels. Why did I ever go and buy them from the merchant of Aleppo? I thought I'd make a profit from them, but instead I've landed in jail." He stood up angrily, went to the shelf, picked up one of the vessels, and with all his strength, smashed it against the floor. The vessel broke into pieces, and its liquid spread across the floor. At that very moment, a sweet and enchanting fragrance spread through the room. The room became filled with a unique scent, unlike anything he had ever smelled before. Sarang stood still for a moment, surprised. Then he picked up another vessel and poured a little bit of the perfume into a bowl. He dipped his finger into it and touched it to his forehead. Instantly, his mind felt cool and fresh, as if a strange kind of peace and clarity had entered his thoughts. His sorrow began to lift, and a smile appeared on his face. He sat down beside the vessels and took out a small cloth bag. He started separating the perfumes into different categories: light, strong, and royal scents. He divided them and stored each in different bottles. Then he took out a writing tablet and began to write something. He wrote the names of each fragrance, and next to them he wrote their supposed benefits, such as for headaches, for peace of mind, for good sleep, for love, and for strength. When he had completed the list, he packed all the vessels into a basket, dressed in decent clothes, and left his house early the next morning. He reached the royal market, where people sold expensive items. He laid out his golden vessels with the perfumes and set up a small sign that read, "Heavenly fragrances, cure for the heart, peace for the mind." People began to stop at his stall, curious about the attractive bottles and sweet scent. One after another, customers started to buy the perfumes. By noon, half of his stock had already been sold, and people were coming back for more, asking if the scent could be bottled in larger jars. Sarang, seeing the response, smiled for the first time in days. He started to believe that the same golden vessels that had caused his downfall might now become the reason for his success. In the next 2 days, all his vessels were sold out. The perfumes that he had once purchased cheaply from the scent seller and placed in golden bottles were now his fortune. With the profit he earned, he bought new clothes, donated to the poor, and even offered food to travelers. Slowly, Sarang began to change. He no longer lived like a miser. Instead, he spent on others, helped the needy, and ate proper meals. His lifestyle improved, and so did his reputation. People started calling him the Perfume Man of Baghdad. His name spread far and wide, and his business continued to grow. But Sarang still had one habit. He never wore any shoes other than his old, patched ones. When people asked why, he would say, "These shoes remind me of the time when I had nothing, when my greed led me to prison. and when I learned that no perfume can cover the stench of dishonesty. Thus, the man once known for his stinginess became known for his wisdom and generosity. And the golden vessels from Aleppo, once thought to be a curse, turned out to be a blessing in disguise. One day, a foreign merchant came to the city. He had heard of Sarang's fame and wanted to see him for himself. He reached Sarang's shop and saw the perfumes arranged beautifully in crystal bottles. He picked up a bottle, opened it, and smelled it. He was amazed and said, "These are not ordinary perfumes. Where did you get them from?" Sarang smiled and replied, "They were brought from Aleppo." The merchant's eyes widened, and he asked, "From the Aleppo merchant who had once come here to sell perfumes?" Sarang nodded. "Yes, the same one. I bought all his stock." The merchant looked deeply at Sarang and said, "That perfume seller was my brother. After returning from Baghdad, he fell seriously ill and passed away. But before his death, he kept asking about his lost stock. He said the perfumes had something special in them." Sarang's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "What kind of special thing?" The merchant replied, "My brother was a skilled alchemist. He had discovered a secret formula, a blend that not only brought fragrance but healed the soul. Before coming here, he infused the perfume with a drop of that elixir." Sarang was stunned. He remembered the moment when the perfume touched his forehead, and how it changed his state of mind. He now understood why people felt peace after using it. He whispered, "So that's why." The merchant said, "My brother wanted this elixir to reach the right people. It looks like, unknowingly, he chose you for that." Sarang stood in silence. A deep wave of emotion swept over him. He finally spoke, "Your brother's gift saved me from ruin. Please come, be my guest. Let's sit together and honor his memory." The merchant accepted the invitation, and that evening they sat in Sarang's home, sharing stories of the past. They lit a small lamp and placed one of the last golden vessels in front of him. The soft glow from the lamp reflected on the bottle, and the room once again filled with that enchanting fragrance. Both men closed their eyes and remained silent. In that silence, there was gratitude, peace, and a strange spiritual connection. The next day, Sarang decided to build something in memory of the perfume seller. He set up a small foundation that offered free scents to those in sorrow, claiming it wasn't just perfume, it was hope. People who were sick, heartbroken, or depressed started visiting his shop. He would hand them small vials with a smile and say, "This may not cure your pain, but it will lighten your heart." The foundation grew. People from far-off cities began writing to Sarang. His story reached the courts of kings and the homes of the poor. But he never claimed any credit for the miracle. He always said, "I'm just the keeper of a treasure given by fate." And so, from a miser destroyed by greed, Sarang became a healer of broken hearts. And the scent of those perfumes, blended with the tears and prayers of one man, continued to touch lives long after the vessels were gone. Years passed. Sarang had grown old. His hair had turned white, and his hands trembled. But his smile was still as warm as before. One evening, a young girl entered his shop. She looked nervous and held a small handkerchief in her hands. She said in a hesitant voice, "Are you the famous Sarang?" He replied with a gentle smile, "I used to be. Now, I'm just a caretaker of memories." The girl said, "My grandmother once visited this place. She was very ill and heartbroken. You gave her a small bottle of perfume. She always kept it close to her and said, 'Whenever I feel like I'm falling apart, I open this and breathe.'" Tears welled up in Sarang's eyes. He looked at the girl and said, "What was your grandmother's name?" She replied, "Zainab." Sarang slowly stood up and went to a wooden box kept on a high shelf. He took out a tiny bottle, old and covered in cloth. He placed it in the girl's hands and said, "This was kept aside for her. I don't know why, but I never gave it to anyone else." The girl took the bottle with trembling hands and said, "Thank you. My grandmother passed away last month. Before dying, she said I must visit this place once." Sarang looked at the sky through the window. It was turning crimson with the setting sun. He said softly, "Some fragrances are eternal. They live in our breath, in our prayers, in our memories." The girl left, and Sarang sat silently on his old wooden chair. The evening breeze entered the shop, carrying with it a familiar scent. He closed his eyes, and a peaceful smile spread across his face. That night, Sarang peacefully passed away in his sleep. When people found him the next morning, they saw that he was still smiling. In his hand was a piece of cloth soaked in that same perfume. The entire room was filled with its soothing aroma. People said, "Sarang didn't die. He dissolved into the fragrance." Later, his shop was turned into a place of love and remembrance. It came to be known as the House of Fragrance. Even today, people say that if someone enters with a broken heart, they smell something strange in the air, a scent that speaks to the soul. And in one corner of that house, Sarang's old chair still stands, beside which a lamp always burns, and beneath it lies a single line written in golden ink: "He who gives peace never truly dies."